Hello everyone, my name is David Gay, and thank you very much for watching the 9th episode of David Needs a Job. Okay, before I begin with this episode, I should apologize for any background noise that you hear. It is because of the continued renovation and repair work on the outside structure of my apartment building and the balcony. Because the windows are closed right now to keep the dust out, not only is that making the apartment a lot hotter than it actually is, we have a humidex warning here in Toronto today of 35 degrees Celsius. It's also amplifying the vibrations going through the structure of the building. The topic that I'm bringing up today is a somewhat controversial and very sensitive issue, particularly to those job seekers like myself who are of a certain age group. And that subject is ageism. Now, I am not surprised that ageism is still alive and well with us in today's society. All we need to do is to look at the television shows we watch, the people that we look up to, sports, athletes, celebrities, for example. We look at the commercials on TV, we see the advertisements in magazines and newspapers. Clearly, our society, Western culture, has a bias, a strong bias, toward anything that appears young and hip and beautiful. That, unfortunately, is also present, this bias, in the interview process. The older you are, it's no secret, the older you are, the harder it will be for you to find work if you are of a certain age. And I am 50, I'm going to be 50 years old in less than a year. Now, what got me off on this, you could say it's a rant, was an article that was written by the Express Employment Professionals website. I actually mentioned this on my blog post at davidallengay.wordpress.com, and the subject of my blog post was, I don't have a best before date. So you can go to my blog post and read about it if you're interested, but I'll give you the too long didn't read version of it here. I went to that particular article by the Express Employment Professionals website because I wanted to get some information on how to deal with age discrimination if I faced it during an interview process. How should I handle it? Who should I go to report it if I find it is working against me in my efforts to find a job? I didn't get that information at all. What I got were two things, both of which that shocked me. The first thing is that I got from this article was age discrimination is here, it's accepted, it's never going to go away because that is the prerogative of the hiring manager and of the people who practice this as part of their culture in a company. And also, the blame and the onus is on the interviewee, the person who is looking for work. It is their responsibility to try to mask it or hide it as much as possible so that they have a better chance of being hired for a job and to not face any form of discrimination. You know, I have a problem with that advice. You would never say to someone who is a member of a visible minority to try to deflect notice or to hide certain attributes of that person's ethnicity in order to avoid discrimination during the interview process that could hamper them in getting a job. For example, you would never say to a female interviewee to try to hide things about her femininity to appear gender neutral in order to get a job. You would never say to someone who is a Sikh to not wear a turban and cut their hair short, instead to appear more acceptable to the corporate viewpoint and culture. You would never say to someone who is Japanese, Chinese, Greek to change their last name so that it appears less ethnic and more westernized. Yet here we are, according to this article, asking mature job seekers like myself to suppress or deflect attention to an attribute such as age that really we shouldn't be ashamed of, and that we all eventually go through the older we get. We are being asked to hide our credentials and our accomplishments that we are so proud of if it goes off the chronological line that identifies us as, well, obsolete, old. Now, I don't agree with that principle, but even if I did agree with that principle where, yeah, maybe I should hide things older than 10 years on my resume and keep secret all of the great things that I've done, all of the certificates and diplomas that I've received over the years past a certain point. It still can be uprooted in a thorough investigation through something as simple as a Google search on the internet or through a private agency that checks one's criminal and previous employment record. Invariably, whether you do a search on the internet through Google or go deep mining for data about the person's background, there's nothing stopping that information from being revealed, and if that information is in fact revealed, it's going to have a date and a timestamp beside it. It will do the job of identifying just how long this person's been around to the interviewer doing the research. Plus, it kind of breaks the spirit of what an interview is all about. When you go into an interview, you are going in there sharing with the interviewer your past accomplishments without any restrictions or secrets or anything that we should be technically ashamed of. And yeah, if something does come up in the past that maybe needs to be questioned or brought up as a concern, it is the responsibility not of the interviewer to ask us to hide it, but it is the responsibility of the interviewee to spin it in a positive light so that it actually looks like a strength as opposed to a weakness. That's not only open disclosure, that's also turning whatever that could work against us into something that will work strongly for us. The fact that I did something simply amazing, either in the 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s, or even recently in the last few years, does not change or diminish the fact that I did a good thing to begin with. We should look back at those accomplishments and be proud of what we've done and not be ashamed or hiding it just because it makes us feel old. Look at it instead as a series of accomplishments, consistently good behavior over a very long period of time that says to the interviewer, this person has staying power, and not only that, during that rather long reign of success, he did a lot of good things that is consistent. On top of the demands placed on mature job seekers such as myself to hide certain credentials or accomplishments from our work history because it makes us appear old and obsolete, there are also a lot of misconceptions about mature job seekers shared by many interviewers and the companies they work for that I need to address and straighten out based on my own successes as an employee in the IT field of 20 years. The first misconception that I'd like to address is the fact that because we're of a certain age group, we're not going to be with the workforce for a long time, particularly if you compare to what can be invested in hiring somebody young who, from the point of the view of the interviewer and the corporation that they work for, will be with the company for a much longer time when compared to a mature worker such as myself. Well, that's not necessarily the case at all. In fact, it's not even true. Some research studies done on Gen Xers and Gen Yers, for example, show that unlike mature workers such as the baby boomers, who have corporate loyalty to both the boss and to the company that they work for, Gen Xers and Gen Yers have seen how baby boomers like myself were treated when we forsake personal life, family life, for the job in the office and the factory doing a lot of overtime. They saw how we were rewarded through the recessions when we were just simply let go. and put on the unemployment line. And the Gen Xers and the Gen Yers said to themselves, well, we're never going to go into that trap. We are more concerned about work-life balance. We want to work hard, but we want to play hard too. And you want to know something? There's nothing wrong with that attitude. By all means, your job is not necessarily your life, and for that same reason, your life should not be dictated by your job. So Gen Xers and Gen Yers are more likely to say, what benefits me as well as my career is what's going to be considered when I'm working for a company. And if there's something else that comes along down the pike that gives me more of what I want, in both personally and professionally, then I'm going to tender my resignation and move on to that new place that is going to give me more of what I want. There's also the misconception about mature job seekers that because we are older, we are more likely to get sick. We would not be in the office or the factory as much. We would use more of our benefits. We would take more sick days, and we would generate a lower standard of productivity when compared to young people. I am not arguing against the point that, yes, as you get older, you will become more prone to certain type of disease, such as circulatory or cancer. That is without dispute. I'm not going to challenge that, but that does not necessarily mean that young people are bulletproof and are invulnerable to those same diseases. It is very possible for a young person to get cancer. It is very possible for young people to get a heart attack. It is also equally possible for a young person to suffer mental illness such as schizophrenia or dementia. Young people can get mental breakdowns and nervous breakdowns. I should also point out that just because I'm older, that doesn't mean I'm frail or out of shape. Compared to what I was when I was around my 20s, 30s, I'm in a lot better shape now at 49. For example, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was around 188 pounds. And for someone who's at 5'8", that's an awful lot of weight to be carrying around. I'm 147 pounds right now. I can climb 12 flights of stairs without breaking a sweat, and I can run for the bus without popping a lung. I mean, I'm in a lot better shape now and a lot healthier now, a lot more energy now than what I was when I was younger. There's also this misconception that we can't learn. We can't adapt. We are inflexible to taking on new challenges. Completely far from the truth. I have started out in my career as a computer operator, daytime and nighttime shift. I was a computer programmer. I became a system administrator. I did some EDI work, some PC work. I worked on the help desk. I participated in 6 projects sitting with consultants and other people who are not in IT. I learned SAP. I even took a Visual Basic course, .NET 2010 edition, and I got my 6 credits after graduating, and I got an average mark of 85%. So not too bad for somebody who is considered incapable of being flexible or incapable of learning or adapting to new challenges. But you want to know something? I want to say this to the hiring managers. As the old saying goes, we are more than the sum of our parts. We have experiences, we have knowledges, we have soft skills, hard skills. Why not simply evaluate each mature worker on the basis of his or her credits and see how we stack up? Test us. Give us a trial period, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months on the job, and see if we are the fit for your corporation. If we are not, then tell us, and we can accept that, but at least you didn't judge us by our age. You judged us by the merits and the abilities and the what we did when we were given the chance. Anyways, that is my say for today. Thank you very much for watching this episode of David Needs a Job, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Bye for now.